Hello, Seiiti Arata. You can change your life in just 5 seconds. Yes, you heard it right. It's about mastering the art of the pause. This means stepping back from your immediate emotions and considering things from a fresh point of view. This transformative process is called cognitive reframing. It is about choosing the perspective that is most helpful to you. Because remember, we are not simply reacting to events, but to our interpretation of the events. You don't have to stick to your first initial reactions, to your automatic thoughts. Don't let them control you. Cognitive reframing gives you the power to shift your point of view and in turn change your emotional response. This change in perspective can significantly improve your emotional well-being, your overall life. To make it really easy to understand, let's use a tale of the two bricklayers, and we're going to connect that to the powerful experiences of Viktor Frankl, and we also explore the practical science behind the cognitive reframing. So, we're going to be using stories and examples to provide you a better understanding of reframing and how to use it in your life. But what do we mean by that? What do we mean by changing your life? Just imagine being able to handle your everyday stress more effectively, dealing with challenging people without losing your cool, or viewing obstacles as opportunities for growth. By learning and applying cognitive reframing, you can gain control over your thoughts, your emotions, and ultimately, your life. It is a powerful tool that can significantly enhance your resilience, your relationships, and the overall happiness in your life. We teach all of that in detail in exercises in our happiness training at arata.se/happiness. But right now we're just going to be doing a simplified version, starting with the tale of the two bricklayers. Maybe you know that. The tale of the two bricklayers teaches us that work is not just a series of tasks. When you view work as a significant contribution, you can change everything. Just imagine you are walking in a small town and you see a construction site, and over there there are two men, Norman and Alexander, both working hard, laying bricks under this bright sunny day. You approach Norman first, and he seems to be completely engrossed in his work, and you ask, "What are you doing, young man?" And Norman barely looks up and he replies grumpily, "Don't you see? I'm just stacking bricks here to make this stupid wall, and by the way, my payment is quite bad. I can't wait to finish my turn so I can finally go home and have a beer." Now you turn to Alexander, doing the same work as Norman, and you pose the same question to him, and he pauses. He looks up this half-built structure and he says, with a touch of pride, "I'm building a school, a place where kids will learn and grow. It feels great to be part of this." What we just went through here is a tale of two perspectives. Both Norman and Alexander are doing the same work, but they view it in a drastically different light. Norman sees his job as a mundane task. Alexander sees a broader purpose, the future impact of his labor. You see, our brains are not just recorders of reality, they are interpreters of reality. How we frame our experiences and the narratives that we create significantly influence our perception of reality. In neuroscience, this is called cognitive reframing. It is a psychological technique that consists of identifying and then disputing irrational or maladaptive thoughts. In Norman's frame, he sees only the task at hand. His motivation is likely limited to getting the job done. It is a narrow perspective, and that could lead to a low job satisfaction, a lack of enthusiasm. But in Alexander's frame, he sees his work as part of a grander scheme. He's adding purpose, he's adding value to the task that he's doing. This positive framing not only provides motivation, but also promotes a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. And we all have the ability to reframe our narratives by consciously choosing to view our tasks in a broader context. We can find more meaning in our work, changing our attitudes, and potentially changing our results. This is the power of perspective. What I want you to always remember here about the story about the two bricklayers is that your work can feel like a burden or a meaningful contribution, depending on how you see it, how you frame it. By reframing, you can transform not only how you see your work, but also how you perceive your world. And reframing goes much beyond how we look at work. It's about how we see life itself. You can follow the example of Viktor Frankl. You can use your mind as a fortress. You can control your narrative, no matter the external circumstances. You probably know the story of Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. He endured years in Nazi concentration camps. In his famous book, Man's Search for Meaning, he recounts these horrific experiences. He shares the profound insights that he gained about the human spirit during these trials. This is such an important book that we even have an entire episode here in our Arata Academy Summary series. It is episode number 8, and I highly recommend you watch it. You can imagine yourself in Frankl's shoes. You can imagine yourself surrounded by this indescribable suffering, despair, and loss. Many people around him, stripped of their liberties and their humanity, succumbed not only to the physical toll, but to the heavy burden of hopelessness. However, Frankl chose to frame his experience in a different way. Rather than viewing himself as a mere victim of his circumstances, he embraced an empowering narrative, a purpose that propelled him through these dark days. Frankl would close his eyes and imagine himself vividly with images that he's giving a lecture at a university. He visualized himself sharing the lessons learned for the horrors of this war and the atrocities of the camps. His purpose was not just survival, but to teach future generations about the inhumanity that he faced and the hope of preventing its recurrence. From the standpoint of neuroscience, our brain doesn't differentiate much between vivid visualizations and actual experiences we have. Frankl's imagined lectures evoked real feelings of purpose and resilience, providing a psychological counterweight to this surrounding despair. And his narrative was very similar to the bricklayer Alexander. Like Alexander, he saw the bricks like a foundation of a school. Frankl viewed his suffering as a means to a greater end. He saw himself not just like a victim, but as a future messenger of truth and peace. We can learn from Frankl's ability to reframe his situation, his condition. This skill, the cognitive reframing, enables us to alter our perspective, our emotional response, and ultimately our resilience to adversity. We can't always control our circumstances, but we do have the power to control the story we tell ourselves about it. You can remember this: your perspective shapes your reality. By consciously reframing your narrative, you can choose purpose, resilience, and meaning even in the darkest of times. You can use cognitive reframing to change your life in just 5 seconds. Basically, what I'm teaching you today here is a technique of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and cognitive reframing, also known as cognitive restructuring, is a psychological strategy that involves identifying and then challenging irrational, maladaptive thoughts that are known as cognitive distortions. You can imagine that you are in a store, ready to pay, and you approach the cashier. That person, the cashier, is grumpy, even yells at you. Now, your initial reaction might be shock, followed by a few thoughts like, whoa, what did I do wrong? Why does the cashier hate me? These thoughts are examples of cognitive distortions, specifically personalizing, because you are attributing that negative behavior of the other person entirely to yourself. Maybe it has nothing to do with you. The aim of cognitive reframing is to challenge these distortions. You can start by acknowledging the grumpiness of the cashier and then consider alternative explanations. Maybe the cashier is just having a bad day. Perhaps this person is dealing with some personal problems, personal issues at home. Who knows? So your reframed thought could be, well, The rudeness of the cashier is not about me. Seems that this person is just going through a difficult day. This perspective can help you to alleviate the immediate emotional impact, avoiding unnecessary stress or hurt feelings. Additionally, you can also choose to respond with compassion, at least in your mind. Although it might be pretty challenging, you could silently wish for the cashier's troubles to ease, to have a better life. This mental response not only helps to diffuse any residual negative feelings, but also reinforces the practice of cognitive reframing. And by doing so, you exercise control over your reactions and your emotions. This is a reminder that you can choose to see the situation differently, transforming a negative, potentially negative experience into an opportunity for understanding, for empathy. Now, attention. Cognitive reframing is not about ignoring or downplaying negative experiences and saying, oh no, everything is amazing. It is not about developing a unrealistic idea of the world. It's about having a balanced, realistic perspective, acknowledging the situation for what it is, but also recognizing that there could be more to that story than meets the eye. As for a simple exercise for you to do at home, you can start by observing your own thoughts, especially when you're feeling upset, you're feeling stressed. You can write down these thoughts and you can try to identify if they involve any cognitive distortions, such as jumping to conclusions, catastrophizing, overgeneralizing. And then next, you can challenge these distortions. You can ask yourself if there is any evidence, a good evidence, supporting these thoughts, or maybe there are other possible explanations. And then you can reframe these thoughts into something more rational, more balanced. The reason why this works is because, you see, our thoughts, our feelings, our behaviors, they are all interconnected. And by challenging how we think, the cognitive part, we can affect how we feel, the emotional part, and then how we act, the behavioral part. This is the fundamental principle of CBT. Over time, with consistent practice, cognitive reframing can significantly improve your emotional well-being and also your ability to cope with all types of stress and difficulties and adversity. Now remember that just as the bricklayer can view a brick as part of a stupid wall or as part of a future school for the children, we can also have the power to choose how we view, how we interpret our experiences. The beauty of cognitive reframing lies in the capacity to empower us, providing us control over our emotions and the narrative of our lives. And you are always in control of your own brain and the thoughts that you choose. It is natural to think that, that won't work for me. I am who I am. I can't change my emotional reactions, my immediate reactions. Well, that belief is just based on a fixed mindset. The good news is that with awareness, with practice, you can evolve your mindset. You can change your behavioral patterns. It's not going to happen overnight, but over time, these steps can significantly improve your ability to handle all types of stressful situations. So here are some ideas. Number one, you have to pause and acknowledge. First step is to acknowledge your immediate reaction. In the example that we just used to illustrate, if somebody is rude to you, your immediate response, it's natural to get angry, to yell back, but take a moment. Recognize this pattern. This awareness is the first and the most critical part to have a change. Number two, you have to practice mindful breathing. When you feel anger arising, consciously take a few deep breaths. This simple act will help you to pause before you react and will also have a calming effect on your nervous system. Number three, identify this distortion. You have to identify the cognitive distortion at play. Are you personalizing the rudeness of other people, reacting, and you got a defensive mindset? Understanding that will help you to reframe the situation. Number four, you have to reframe your thoughts. As we just discussed, you have to challenge the distorted thought and reframe it. Instead of thinking, I won't let people yell at me or walk over me, you can think, whoa, that person's behavior is about them. So about me, I choose to not escalate the situation. And number 5, you have to choose a different response. With this new perspective, you have to consciously decide how you want to respond. Maybe it's with silence, maybe it's a calm reply, maybe it's polite but firm against that rudeness. You will choose. Number 6, you have to practice regularly. The key to changing your ingrained habits is constant practice, and over time you'll find your immediate reactions shifting. You'll be able to handle these situations more effectively. Remember, standing up for yourself does not necessarily mean reacting back with anger, returning rudeness with more rudeness. It is about maintaining your self-respect and dignity, even in difficult situations. Cognitive reframing doesn't change who you fundamentally are. It simply helps you to develop healthier coping strategies and a more balanced perspective. You can't control what other people do, what other people say, but you can control how you respond. You can't control what happens in the world around you, but you can control how you interpret that and what you will do about it. When you control your thoughts and the interpretation of what happens around, you can really change your life. And to make this easy to understand, remember The Tale of the Two Bricklayers, the book by Viktor Frankl. And make sure to practice the exercise that I just shared here from cognitive behavioral therapy. They are really useful. And if you want to have access to more exercises, more details, and feedback from positive psychology, and have a better life, right now you can visit arata.se/happiness.